Hi, thanks for checking out another video of the Vit Nerd. That would be me or Steve. I go by both names. Speaking of both, I have both of Atari's last computers. So within the same week. So I've got an Atari Falcon I just picked up to add to the wall of retro. Although to be honest, I'm a little afraid of, these are pretty safe up here, but this is probably the one I would want to break last. The Atari 400 Mini, which this is goofy. This is Atari's first computer, or the 400, 800 were the first computers. And now is this the last computer, the 400 Mini? So I don't know, either the Falcon's the last computer or the 400 Mini. But today we're going to go over the Falcon, and the Mini I'll do at another time. So I picked up this Falcon. It was up for sale, and it just, all the specs look great. It is mint, and what I mean by mint is, according to the seller, he bought this as a backup to a studio computer. So this lived in the box for 30 years, the box that I put down there. And he says it has about 4 hours of use on it in 30 years. The case looks immaculate. Even the mouse, you can take a look here, came in the bag. He must have had other mice he used. This original Atari Falcon mouse is just, still has the wrapper on the ball. It's a great mouse. Unfortunately, now I can never use it because it's in perfect shape. That's kind of goofy how it goes, right? So the Falcon is Atari's last computer. It came out in 1992. And they stopped selling them in 1993 to focus on, I believe it was the Jaguar, which I never got into. And when I think about my life, 1992, 93, I'm younger, kids, I'm doing computer consulting. I'm working with probably 386s at that point, IBM compatibles, ugly beige boxes. Some compacts were kind of nice. So with my Atari STE days were over. This is an Atari STE per se, the last of that line, and again, the last computer that Atari ever had. Now, it looks like from the box that it was originally 1 megabyte in here, and you could do typically 1, 4, and 14 megabytes, whole memory mapping thing, why it's 14. And it looks like the owner took the 1 megabyte you can see here, made it into a 4 with a 1. They upgraded this to 14 megabytes and 130 meg internal 2.5-inch hard drive, which lives right about here. And that kind of helps explain why there's a fan on here. So what I thought I'd do is, if you know the Atari STs, this looks like an Atari ST because it's in an Atari ST case. When the 520 STs, or even the 130 ST, the 260 ST, the 520 ST, the 1040 ST, all numbers for amount of megs in there. When the 520, 1040 came out with the floppies in them, and they extended the case back, put in the power supply, added the floppy on the side, that was the last ST case in this style with the floppy drive. Then they went to, the Mega STs, well, if that's on or off camera over there, to the TT and the Mega ST, or the STE, the Mega STE. So I guess I'll correct myself. This is more so the Mega STE case, which I have one right here. This is my 1040 STE. And as you can see, and I want to be really careful here, you've got the same case, the same layout, the same function keys, keyboard, numeric, the badging, where the light is. Atari, for what seems to be considered doing this for cost reasons, keep the cost down. Now, if we take a look at, let me lift up the side here. Do the down shot, and they got some weight to them, so I'm being really careful here. One thing I liked and hated about the ST line is I liked that they had fancy disk drives in here. It's very stylish, but when you went to replace it, you had problems, especially since they changed these disk drives a couple times to look even more stylier, something like that. So what I do like is with the Falcon, they just like, let's just go with the rectangle. Let's go ahead and put in just a regular floppy drive, and that way you can get replaced easier. So that's the side. You can see, again, it's this, the Falcon looks primarily like the STE here. And we can take a look at the other side. The other side of the side. And over here, just like the STE, I think if the coloring wasn't off, which is kind of funny because the Falcon's a little more of a gray case with a darker keyboard, and this STE has obviously aged, so it's gotten closer, kind of looks like the Falcon color. But this would not be an ST without the MIDI ports, right? So same thing, STE case, MIDI ports, cartridge slot, and then the enhanced joystick ports, the analog joystick ports, which weren't used very much. Same as the Jaguar, so if you can get those. Now, if you look at the bottom, again, we've got the same case going on with just one minor change. Since this is running hotter, they have a fan in it, which I'm not a fan, no pun intended, of fans. But they've got the joystick ports that they moved down here when they went to the floppy drive models. So the same as the STE, they didn't resolve or correct this hated issue here, having these under here. So the same on the bottom, but when we get to the back, that's where you start to see the differences here. If you know your STs, then you'll recognize there's a lot different going on here on the Falcon, but a lot the same as well. So you've got the reset switches in the same place, the AC input same place, power switches in the same place. But from there, a lot of things change. The original STs and STEs used the DMA port for hard drives. And if you wanted an external floppy drive, a second floppy drive, which is very common back then, often computers ran off a couple floppy drives with no hard drive. This is the STE's traditional round floppy port. Does not exist on the Falcon. So you can't use your old floppy drives, at least without some kind of unknown adapter that I don't know about. You also can't use your old hard drives on the Falcon. So for example, I have one of these Ultra Satan 19-pin SD card drives. I can use that on my 1040 STE, but there's nowhere to plug it in here on the Falcon. As I mentioned, this has a 2.5-inch hard drive inside, and that is IDE. So there's IDE interface inside the Falcon for an internal hard drive. It can handle a couple drives, but you'd have to modify the case to get a cable out for the second drive. Or nowadays, everything's smaller, right? But what they did was they added a traditional SCSI port on here. So you can add external hard drives, external CD-ROM drives, anything else that ran off SCSI. I did have a few SCSI scanners. That was the day, huh? A traditional printer port, just like you've got over here on the STE. The modem port, they've put it down to 9-pin instead of 25-pin, because obviously they needed some space. You've got your headphones out, microphone in. You have the DSP port, and this is the digital signal processor, and this is where the Falcon030 really shined, because it has a processor running on that as well, another Motorola processor for that. And that would let you do, I believe it's 4 stereo or 8 mono audio channels in and out. Between the 68030, so the 68030 processor, Motorola processor in the Falcon, it's a 68000 in the Atari STE. It's the 68030, which is where the Falcon 030, however you want to call it, That's where that comes from the processor that's in here. But the second processor that is for the DSP port, they can work together and you can actually play MP3 files, audio files on the Falcon in real time, sounding pretty good because you've got the two processors working really hard to make that happen. If we move over here, you'll see that, and I don't know why Atari, you still have an RF TV output. It's 1992 and they have a TV output on the Falcon. Probably could have saved that space and made the modem port a little wider, like a 25 pin. Let's talk about there's a LAN port, and it's an AppleTalk variety. Not sure if it really works directly like with AppleTalk, but that is a serial port as well. From what I've read, there is a second serial port besides the LAN, that is, the external serial port and an internal serial port where you could hook up maybe Ethernet connector, maybe wireless modem or something like that. That I'm curious on, but that's buried on the inside. Instead of the female 19-pin hard drive port, which they're not using anymore in the Falcon, they decided, well, let's go ahead and still use a 19 port, but make it male on the computer. So you can't accidentally plug in your old hard drives into it. So this is the 19 pin, still very hard to find connector. Last I checked, they're going for 10, 15 bucks online just for a raw connector. It's actually pretty cool because the audio comes out on here, of course, and you've got RGB. You can do VGA output, you can do RGB output. It has a composite signal on there, and that's what I'm gonna hook up in a moment when we move over here and fire this thing up. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got it hooked up here actually to both of these monitors here. The TV running off channel 2 RF, and this is composite. Now what I did is I jerry-rigged a couple wires onto the composite and ground pins and went to a little adapter into the monitor. At some points, I'll have to build an RGB to SCART connector over to RetroTink to get to HDMI, and that should look sweet. Now, let's hit escape to skip the memory test. I've obviously run that already. And it's booting up the hard drive. And this is nice. It doesn't have the delay with the floppy, seeking the floppy, loading from the floppy, just boom right into the hard drive. Which, of course, we had on STs eventually, but being built in and a bit faster, I will say. So I've got my old ST mouse here. I'm not going to use the new one. I just never use that thing. Let's go ahead and change the video. So I'll click on Set Video, and Set Video. And the nice thing here is they have compatibility modes. And this is for the ST monitors that you're familiar with. The color monitor that gave you low and medium res, and the monochrome monitor that gave you high res. Now I'm on a pretty bad, you probably can't see it as bad as I can, or it looks worse to you on the video here. But I'm going to switch over to low and reboot, restart. There we go. Now I can actually read words on the screen. So we can take a look into the hard drive that the person owned it before. I'm pretty sure just cleared off everything except for the main drivers. I don't know if I could go ahead and restore whatever's on there. I don't care. I've got other ST software I can put on here. And that's the thing, is this is running GEM, of course, and TOS. So there is a multi TOS that will let you do a lot more, but this is the standard TOS that it boots up with in ROM, I do believe, and the multi-TOS can be booted up off the hard drive, which again would be rather fast compared to the old days with floppies. So that's pretty fun. Now, given that I don't have great resolution on here, I'm going to try a game. So I've got the joystick plugged in. The mouse and joystick are down under here, as you know. And let me go ahead and turn this off. And I have this, if you can hear, it's a little quieter. That was the fan. The fan had, go ahead and rewind like 20, 30 seconds. The fan was blowing it's kind of loud, and I'm not even pushing the machine. So I've got this Atari STE multi-card, which actually I tried on here and works. So Atari's last computer that was released in 1992 and ended in 1993 still has the cartridge port, which is crazy. The VCS and the Atari 400, 800 had cartridge ports, and then all the way up to their last computer included a cartridge port. Let's turn that on. And I have the dip switches on the cart set to Joust, or apparently Moon Patrol as well. Let's go ahead and try Joust. I don't think I'm going to get any sound. There is an internal speaker in here. Yeah, this probably isn't. Oh, well, that was terrible. Now, this will be interesting if I ever actually play right. What a surprise that this Atari joystick isn't the best for this. I'm probably splitting the audience here with some people like me love Joust. If I could play it right. Nope, not going to do that. Thy game is over. Oh, look, I got the high score. So I already know in this world there are two kinds of people. People who love Joust, people who hate Joust. And bonus points for you if you can guess which kind I am. Shouldn't be too difficult. There we go. Up, up. Nope, nope. Nice. Not bad. So what I'd like to do, and when I get a chance, is make the RGB SCART cable and then play Joust on my 75-inch TV. That would look pretty sweet. I know I showed you the ST modes, the low and medium color, or talked about them at least. This computer, the Falcon, actually can do quite a lot in the video department. So I'll have to see how far I can push it. I'm not even sure if I can get widescreen. So, till next time, thank you on this little journey here. And thy game is over and thy video is over.